SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts Programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to the Joint Committee on Appropriations. We're in our budget setting, and this afternoon we're going to do the Department of Health, the Department of Revenue, Board of Technical Education, Bureau of Finance and Management, and School and Public Lands. And tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we'll start off with Department of Ag and Natural Resources, Attorney General, Department of Social Services, and the Department of Education. So I'd like to welcome everybody back. Are there, before we start, is there any personal privileges or inductions or anything to get started here? Okay, all right, seeing none, we are going to start off with the Department of Health. Staff.
Mr. Chair, Jeff Melhoff, your fiscal chief. We will be covering Department of Health. There are several budget units here. The first budget unit is administration, and within administration, you've got your provider inflation, an FMAP change, and then a telehealth in motion line item proposed by the governor. Continuing down the page, you've got the next budget unit, which is licensure and accreditation, and you've got a change there in health and safety inspection rate proposed by the governor. The next budget unit is Family and Community Health. And there's 3 items in here. There's a reduction in COVID stimulus grants for $8 million, a public health nurse adjustment, and then a reduction of $500,000 in unutilized FTE in authority. Moving on to laboratory services, the next budget unit, you've got a reduction of $2 million in COVID stimulus grants. And then there are no changes for the remaining budget units within DOH. And that is all from staff, Mr. Chair.
Okay, open up for questions and discussion. Any? Yes, Representative Sharda.
On A5, can you tell us what we're swapping on there?
Mr. Chair, Bill Douglas, LRC staff.
Okay, any further questions? Any further questions, discussion, anything? Okay, we'll look for a recommendation. Oh, sorry, Senator Carley.
Yeah, just the health and safety inspection rate. In the budget brief, it was at 7.5 increase over the previous year. That feels too high to me. Even though it's internal billing, that's still taxpayer money, so I'm going to be resisting any motion on it because of that being too high. But go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Senator Lapke.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget for Department of Health and line items A2 and C3.
Representative Norstrup.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to set the budgets of Administration, Secretary of Health, License and Accreditation, Family and Community Health, Laboratory Services, Correctional Health, Tobacco Prevention, Epidemiology, Surveillance, Informatics, Board of Chiropractor Examiners, Informational, Board of Dentistry, Informational, Board of Hearing Aid Dispensers and Audiologists, Informational, Board of Funeral Services, Informational, Board of Medical and Osteopathic Examiners, Informational, Board of Nursing, Informational, Board of Nursing Home Administrators, Informational, Board of Optometry, Informational, Board of Pharmacy, Informational, Board of Podiatry Examiners, Informational, Board of Massage Therapy, Informational, Board of Speech Language Pathology, Informational, Board of Certified Professional Midwives, Informational, Board of Physical Therapy, Informational, at the level detailed in the Department of Health motion sheet, which includes $14,590,142 in general funds, $88,392,019 in federal funds, expenditure authority, $25,423,317 in other fund expenditure authorities, and 387.4 FTE.
Motion by Representative Norstrup, second by Representative Mucky. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Secretary, call the roll.
Senators and Representatives, Ms. Gimmons. Aye. Auk. Aye. Casson. Aye. Moore. Aye. Billhauer. Aye. Carley.
Aye.
Boyda. Aye. Jorgensen. Aye. Howard. Aye. Foster. Aye. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky. Aye. Zickmund. Aye. Colbeck.
Aye.
Norstrup.
Aye.
Lapke.
Aye.
Otten.
Aye.
And Derby.
Aye.
18 yeas.
Motion to set the budget for the Department of Health hereby passes. Okay, moving on to the Department of Revenue.
Mr. Chair, Bill McDonald, LRC. For the Department of Revenue motion sheet, you have the changes in the governor's recommended budget, as well as a motion sheet from Senator Howard for a reduction in unutilized authority in the Motor Vehicles Division, and a motion sheet from Senator Lapke for 4 FTE and $490,000 in other fund expenditure authority for staffing the new nicotine product regulation program that will be established through Senate Bill 221, which just passed both houses.
Okay, let's start at the top. Yes, go through each one, start at the top.
Oh, sure. So in the business tax division, there's an increase in other fund expenditure authority from the sales and use tax collection fund for property tax software. This increase, and that's in the governor's recommended budget.
No, just sheets.
Oh,
B3.
yeah, so B3, that's the increase in FTE and other fund authority related to Senate Bill 221. These are the FTE that the department says it will need to stand up that program. The other fund authority will come from the fund that's being created through Senate Bill 221.
We need a vote on that, correct?
So moved.
We have a motion by Representative Casson, seconded by Representative Mucky. Discussion on the motion. Senator Lapke.
I was asked to bring this motion sheet because with the passage of 221 and House Bill 220, it's going to put these regulations in place pertaining to nicotine products across the state, and the other funds that are generated from those two particular pieces of legislation are going to cover the expenses of this, so it's self-sustaining, and I think it's a common sense thing to do.
Very good. Any further discussion? Any further discussion on B3? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Senators and Representatives, Ms. Gimmons. Auk. Casson. Moore. Billhauer. Carly. Voida. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda. Mucky. Zickman. Kolbeck. Norstrup. Lapke.
Aye.
Otten. And Derby.
Aye.
18 yeas.
The motion for B3 hereby passes. Nope. There's a Howard motion sheet. That's the right sizing one. Okay, good to go.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Senator Lapke.
I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget and line items C3 for the Department of Revenue.
Motion by Senator Lapke, seconded. Nope, we don't need that. I heard a second. It got me going. Okay.
I got a question.
Representative Sharda.
On B1, it's zeros. That one's checked. What's that one do?
What's going on here? Thank you, Representative Sharda. Good eye. Okay, Representative Norstrup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to set the budgets for administration, Secretary of Revenue, business tax, motor vehicles, property taxes, audits, instant and online operation, informational, video lottery, Commission on Gaming, informational, at the level detailed in the Department of Revenue motion sheet, which includes $1,220,000 $3,880 in general funds, $397,295 in federal funds expenditure authority, $109,913,750 in other fund expenditure authority, and 263.5 FTEs.
Motion by Representative Norstrop, seconded by Representative Mucky. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none. Secretary, call the roll.
Ms. Gimmons. Auk. Casson. Moore. Billhauer. Carly. Boyda. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky. Zickman. Colbeck.
Aye.
Norstrup.
Aye.
Lapke.
Aye.
Otten. Derby.
Aye.
18 yeas.
Motion to set the budget for the Department of Revenue hereby passes. Okay, next is the Board of Technical Education. Board of Inflation and right side.
Mr. Chair, Bill McDonald, LRC. On the Board of Technical Education motion sheet, you have the governor's, the changes in the governor's recommended budget, a motion sheet from Chair Derby for 1.4% inflation of the per student allocation in the technical college's funding formula, a motion from Senator Otten for 1.25% inflation of the PSA, and a motion from Senator Voida for reduction in unutilized other fund expenditure authority.
Okay, any discussion? Questions? Seeing none. Senator Lapke.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget for Board of Technical Education and line items A8 and A10.
Motion, or that's a recommendation. Representative Norstrup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to set the budgets for technical colleges tuition assistance, technical colleges instructor salary support at the levels detailed in the Board of Technical Education motion sheet, which includes $44,713,732 in general funds and 3.0 in FTEs.
Motion by Representative Norstrup, second by Representative Mucky. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none. Secretary, call the roll.
Ms. Gimmons.
Aye.
Auk. Aye. Casson. Moore. Vilhauer. Carly.
No.
Boyda. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky. Zickman. Colbeck.
Aye.
Norstrup.
Aye.
Lapke.
Aye.
Otten. Derby.
Aye.
17 yeas, 1 nay.
Motion to set the budget for the Board of Technical Education hereby passes. Next up is the Bureau of Finance and Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Meloff, your chief for fiscal. Up before you today is the Bureau of Finance and Management, and the first budget unit is within BFM, and the governor is recommending an accountant 3, and the next budget units have no changes. The next one down is the employee compensation and billing pool. And this is where the state salary policy is. Remember, that's a pool of dollars that are budgeted there, and then they are distributed out later to the agencies. And then after that, there are no further changes.
Any discussion and/or questions?
Question.
Yes, Senator Carly.
Just, Jeff, can you explain, there's other funds for the accountant 3. Where are those other funds coming from? How are they earning those?
Sure, Mr. Chair. Those other funds would come from BFM billing, other agencies. So it's an internal billing fund.
Any other questions? Any other questions from the committee? Recommendation?
Mr. Chair, I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget and line items F2 for the Bureau of Finance and Management.
Representative Norstrop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to set the budgets for Bureau of Finance and Management, Computer Science and Development, Coronavirus Stimulus Pool Building Authority, Informational, Health and Education Facilities Authority, Informational, Employee Compensation and Billing Pool, Educational Enhancement, Funding Corporation, Informational, at the level detailed in the Bureau of Finance and Management motion sheet, which includes $9,595,860 in general funds, $3,551,765 in federal funds, expenditure authority, $23,145,442 in other fund expenditure authority, and 54 FTEs.
Motion by Representative Norstrop, seconded by Representative Mucky. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, Secretary call the roll.
Ms. Gimmons,
Aye.
Auk,
Aye.
Casson, Moore, Vilhauer, Carly,
No.
Boyda, Jorgensen, Howard, Foster, Sharda,
Aye.
Mucky, Zigmund, Colbeck,
Aye.
Norstrup,
Aye.
Lapke,
Aye.
Otten, Derby,
Aye.
17 yeas, 1 nay.
Motion to set the budget for the Bureau of Finance and Management hereby passes. Okay, next item is School and Public Lands, which I know we've seen that before.
Mr. Chair, before you is the School and Public Lands. You guys have set this, but yet, as you know, you guys can revisit any budget that you've previously set at any time. In front of you, you've got a few items recommended by the governor, and then an item for a printer scanner.
And I'd like to have Commissioner come up under discussion and update us. It's kind of been your turn in the barrel here, hasn't it? Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Brock Greenfield, the Commissioner of School and Public Lands. I live in Pierre. On behalf of the people of the state of South Dakota, first of all, I want to thank you for your tireless work in this committee room. No stranger to it myself, and I do appreciate it. On behalf of our office, I also want to thank you for considering this request. I went back in our files, and I think since February 11th, we've had 4 maintenance calls on our printer. On the 11th of February, the 26th, the 3rd, and the 5th of March. Our technology, as far as the copier goes, is aging out, and we are in desperate need of something. And so we do appreciate you considering this request, and I would stand by for questions.
Okay. Representative Norstrip, do you want to talk a little about what we've done and how we got here?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a situation where the copier's not very reliable. I believe it's 12 years old. And we had LRC do some research as to the cost associated with fixing the problem that we've got in school and public lands. And that's what the amendment does, is it resolves it for school and public lands. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the committee? Senator Carly.
Just a question, that wasn't on the original budget brief. Did that come up subsequent to that? Is that where that came up?
That motion sheet was put in weeks ago, and it's been worked on as we go through the process, so.
Yeah, that wasn't my question. My question was, it wasn't on the budget sheet. So did that just come up after the budget sheet was published? Is that what happened?
This the original, the motion sheet?
But the budget brief. No, it was on the motion sheet.
Yeah.
On the budget brief.
Mr. Chair, I can maybe speak to that. So the items you see in the budget brief, those are prepared by the agencies in August. And sometimes there's additional items that come up in agencies, and this would be one of them that came up since those budgets were submitted back in August.
Good question. Good question. Any other questions? All right, I would,
Mr.
yes, Representative Auk.
I would say to accept the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Representative Auk, seconded by Representative Casson. Any discussion on the motion?
Kind of hard to run your office without a printer. I think we better get him a printer.
Okay. Do we need to? Casson seconded. Senator Carly.
That brought up a question. Do they not have one, or is this replacing the one they have?
This is replacing the one that's had 4 service calls in the last month.
Motion, we got a motion by Representative Auk, seconded by Representative Casson. Secretary, call the roll.
Miss Gimmons.
Aye.
Auk.
Aye.
Casson. Moore. Vilhauer. Carly.
Aye.
Voida. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster.
Aye.
Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky. Zickmund. Colbeck.
Aye.
Norstrip.
Aye.
Lapke.
Aye.
Otten.
Aye.
Derby.
Aye.
18 yeas.
Okay, motion to approve A4 hereby passes. Okay, Senator Lapke. Right to Norstrip. Representative Norstrip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to set the budgets for the administration of school and public lands at the levels detailed in the school and public lands motion sheet, which includes $907,217 in general funds, $342,052 in other fund expenditure authority, and 7 FTEs.
Motion by Representative Norstrip, second by Representative Mucky. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Miss Gimmons.
Aye.
Auk.
Aye.
Casson. Moore. Vilhauer. Carly.
Aye.
Voida. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky. Zickmund. Colbeck.
Aye.
Norstrip.
Aye.
Lapke.
Aye.
Otten.
Aye.
Derby.
Aye.
18 yeas.
Motion to set the budget for the school and public lands hereby passes. Well, thank you. We got through that a lot quicker than I had planned on. So tomorrow morning, we will do the Department of Ag and Natural Resources, Attorney General, the Department of Social Services, and the Department of Education. We'll start at 8 o'clock. Is there anything else for the good of the cause? Minutes. We have minutes. Senator Carly.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes of Monday, March 9th, 2026.
Motion by Senator Carly, second by Representative Colbeck. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's it. Anything else for the good of the cause?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move we adjourn.
Motion by Senator Voida, second by Representative Alk. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Nice work today. Thank you.
SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.